All right. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the MAE Podcast. I believe this is episode 3 now. And today we are, switching back and forth with Evan and I. And now Evan's going to be taking the reins on this one. And we'll be talking to him about cooking in general, kind of from the perspective of college students, being that we're both current college students. And Evan's going to be for another couple of years now. So we understand the struggle.
I'm not just any college student. I'm a graduate student. Okay?
Yeah, sorry, graduate. I don't want to downplay.
Come on,
him.
Don't sell me short.
No, not no.
Sorry, everybody. I promise I'm humble.
Yeah, very incredibly, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So
I'm different than other guys.
Yeah. So just to get started with that then, Evan, we're talking about cooking here today. When did you get started with it? What was kind of the time or instance or whatever that really got you starting to cook on your own or, for other people, just, cooking in general?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago is when I started. So I'm no Iron Chef yet. I started when I got this thing at my undergrad university. They were called senior apartments. They were just another kind of housing thing, except for it was 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2 beds in each bedroom. So it was 4 people total. And you had a kitchen and a living room instead of just dorm rooms. So it was highly sought after. And when I got there, I just decided that I wanted the cheapest meal plan, as one would. So I was going to cook more often. So I kind of had to learn then. And I really didn't have any previous, I wouldn't say I didn't have any previous cooking encounters, but cooking eggs and stuff was what I used to cook before that, which I wouldn't really consider too much cooking because, I don't want to sell eggs short. You can do a lot with eggs, but I wasn't making any omelets.
Yeah, it wasn't anything too complicated before, which I get that. And yeah, for me as well, how I got started with cooking then was I didn't even do it in college because for me, I've still been using the dining plans here, which I'll be honest, for anybody who's in college, you very much know that the dining plans, even if you're at a nice university, they're not the best food, to be honest. But for me, I started during one of my internships, one of the times where I was living in an apartment and working a full-time job where, I had to. And that's when I started getting started on cooking stuff and then having a little bit more time to do it. Even Evan started with college, and even that still kind of limits you in what money and time you have to do it.
Especially when you're an unpaid college student or just paid bare minimum doing tutoring. I could afford couple meals every now and then I just use my meal plan to pay for other meals.
Yeah. And yeah, for me, that was kind of similar because until I'd done the internship and saved up some money before that, just did not have the kind of money to do that. And not to mention living in a dorm, especially my first 2 years I lived in dorms, you have to use a shared kitchen that usually it's a shared kitchen that the entire dorm itself uses. You don't have one every floor or anything like that. So it wasn't really much of an option to do that.
I lived in a building that had a shared kitchen for the entire building.
Yeah, see, that's what I like freshman
in a
year.
Basement, in a dark, dank basement. It was terrible.
Ours are at least on the first floor, so we're in underground. Okay. But both years, my freshman and sophomore year, it was in dorms on campus that had just one single kitchen for the entire place, and so usually there'd be somebody using it, and then or other times it just wasn't super. It was taken care of decently. It was just that I was, for one of them, I was on the 13th floor. So I would have to go 13 floors down to then cook food and then go up, which I was I don't really want to do that.
That's a lot of effort to put in just to cook.
Yeah, seriously. So
meal prep is a thing. I'm terrible with meal prep.
Yeah. Well, you said you make a ton and then save it for later.
I do all my meal prep day of. Some people meal prep for their entire week. No, I'm not that. That's probably why I lose a lot of produce because I always forget about it just sitting in the bottom drawer of my fridge.
Oh yeah, with produce for me, I always make sure that I get it on the day of I need it for something because I always forget it. I have to
Have
get
enough
have to
time
like
to do that anymore.
well that was during the internship. I get it with
Yeah.
you and your grad school stuff. That does definitely make it difficult.
It keeps for about a week usually.
Yeah.
Some stuff.
Yeah, it depends. So I guess then getting into it then, what for, say from the college cooking experience, what are some things you've made with that? Like, in your time, what have been some of the best ways you thought for learning cooking as well as just finding new stuff to cook, what you can afford and do with the money you have available?
A lot of stuff that's easy to make in like undergrad or graduate is like pasta, rice based stuff, like because grains is cheap and you buy like a pound of it like at a time. At least with pasta you can buy like a 5-pound bag of rice, so you have a lot of rice that's going to last you a long time, and you have a lot of pasta as well because you can use like a half pound of pasta. I usually use a full pound of pasta and like a full pound of meat and then other garnishings and whatnot, and that lasts me like 3 to 4 days. Like I honestly should start doing it in half-pound increments so that way like I can actually like keep it fresh, but also it's a lot of time. But I mean, like just starting out with like cheaper stuff like ramen's super cheap. You can like add eggs to it, cut up carrots, get some chives, also known as green onions, also known as wild onions, etc.
Wow.
Throw those in there. Yeah, like, just make yourself like fancy ramen, and it's just like cut up carrots. You could even use baby carrots and then like peel them.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of simple recipes that you can do where it's like you don't need to cook a lot of stuff from scratch. Working with like a bunch of raw meats and making your own sauce. There's a lot of just very simplistic stuff. And really with the thing with cooking, I've found, and you probably know as well, Evan, it's as complicated as you want to make it because there are very much ways to make it very simple. There are ways to make it very complicated. And it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do. I found that sometimes making the stuff more from scratch can kind of end up being better, but you can also have something of pretty equal quality just by using a canned sauce or, a pre-cooked meat or something.
Canned diced tomatoes is much easier to use than cutting your own tomatoes, and I still cut and use my own tomatoes, and honestly I use diced tomatoes, tasted the exact same. Probably much cheaper as well.
That's a good
a full can, which is probably like 3 or 4 tomatoes, and like for the price of like not even one.
Yeah, and it's evenly cut. They're nice and good, and that's a great thing to recommend. Canned vegetables, as much as people say that like people sometimes say it's not like nutritional. There's nothing wrong with canned vegetables. They're just canned at basically it's like frozen. It's kind of kept at a peak ripeness area. You're not really losing not much with that. It's just kind of keeping it. And so it's a great way to just have those available. So you just don't have, I mean, a lot of my easiest recipes, ones I like the most are just usually using a lot of like canned stuff. Like I want to give the example of, I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to go to here. I have a couple tabs open of recipes and that Evan and I were discussing. And I want to show this one right here. Oop, I clicked on it right here. Zatarain's jambalaya rice. Let me tell you, this is a delicious meal you can make, and it is the easiest thing in the world. And it takes
does it have everything except for meat in it?
Yeah, it just like everything in there except that the meat has it. But let me tell you, it has like cut up rice, cut up peppers and that in there, and it's seasoned and everything. And so I tell you to make this, you get jambalaya sausage or some kind of turkey sausage, like a skinless one. Very good, a lot healthier, lower fat. And then you can literally read the side of these. They give recommendations for how to make it. But you just like for jambalaya, I always add corn, diced tomatoes, and broccoli, and black beans. And so I throw all of that in, throw in the meat as well, season it up, and then it gives some recommendations like you throw some olive oil in there to help cook it up. Brown the sausage before. It helps a lot with flavor. Brown it, cook it up a little before, and then add a little extra stuff. I usually add extra garlic in that, and then just cook. And you just throw it in a pot for 25 minutes, and then you're good. And it's delicious. It makes a ton of it because you get a family size of this huge thing you can make. So, and Zatarain's also makes a ton of different rices that give other recommendations for stuff. So this is another example of thing where you can buy, these are like $1. As you can see, they're $1.59 for this thing. You can get like a big thing of grain, and they even give recommendations for how to make stuff. And Zatarain's is always a good, option. They make very good rice. But that's another option of something where it's like it's primarily can based, because I get canned corn, I get canned diced tomatoes, I get canned beans, and I just throw it on there because it's nice, easy, and it's something that like I basically could make anytime, because as long as I have a sausage in the pantry and some frozen broccoli, which both keep for a while, you can kind of make it whenever. Yeah. So it's another example.
And I mean,
it
cuts down on meal prep time because you don't have to like cut tomatoes. You don't have to cut anything. You just kind of get it out of the can.
Yep. And I'll make sure to, at the end of this, in the video itself, probably put some links to any of the recipes we discuss here. Yeah, this one is literally just
in that
description.
The links below in the description. Yeah.
Yeah. This one isn't a recipe. You can just literally just buy this, and I'm just going to tell you, whoever's watching, just to get this, and they have instructions on how to make it on the box. But yeah, for
instructions on the box are super great to follow. Like if you get yourself Kraft mac and cheese, they have like recipes on there for like Kraft mac and cheese and like something else, and like do it. Just experiment with it, see how it is, figure out different things that you can do with it. Like my roommate now told me that he gets like this pulled pork, and he'll put like Kraft mac and cheese and the pulled pork together, and it's really good. And
pulled pork mac and cheese, and if you throw some barbecue sauce on that, ooh
yeah,
ooh baby,
super easy. You just get like pre-packaged like pulled pork. I know that's a sin. I'm eating pre-packaged mac and cheese, okay?
Yeah, you're right. Hey, at least it's not Velveeta.
Yeah. No, I don't like Velveeta's too cheesy.
It tastes like plastic. It's so thick. It feels so artificial. I used to love it as a kid. I tried to have it as an adult recently. Oh my God, it was awful. It was terrible.
Also, if mac and cheese goes bad, like if you ever let it go past the expiration date, it's not the mac, it's the cheese that went bad. So just use the mac for something else. Like you can use the macaroni noodles for like something else where you just add your own fresh cheese to it. Honestly,
that's why in Fallout
better than using the prepackaged cheese.
Yeah, that's why in Fallout you can use that Blamco mac and cheese and you can still eat it, just a little radiated. You're fine.
Yeah, of course, because Blamco is the thing now.
Same thing. It's the same thing basically.
Same thing.
There's that. Hey, just another recommendation.
Some, what was the Salisbury steak? They had that in Fallout.
Yeah, what was that called?
I forget what it was.
Yeah, I can't really think of it, but I was gonna say the Fallout cookbook. There you go. There's a great option for
Fallout
food.
Cookbook.
Yes, there is. I'll look it up.
No
I'm sharing my screen right now. Cookbook. Yeah. Fallout, the Vault Dwellers official cookbook.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
No way.
They teach you how to make. Let's see what else. What all do they have here? So let's see. They have like Xander root miso soup, Brahmin and vegetable roast soup. They got Blamco mac and cheese. They show you how to make it. The moot fruit. Oh my
gosh. Dandy Boy apples.
Old Lady Palmer sweet roll.
Oh
gosh, I have my honey popping up while I'm looking at this. Yeah. Dang. But yeah, this is more of a joke thing. But honestly, that's another thing too. You could get a cookbook. You could totally get a cookbook if you want. But honestly, there are so many like resources for cooking.
I'm not sponsored by them, but I use Yumly. There's so many recipes on there. A lot of them are kind of repeat. Yeah, like you can just kind of like save recipes on there, and then that's like what I use for some of mine. That was Snapchat open. That wasn't Yumly.
Oh, is it it's a website?
Yeah, it's an app on your phone. No thanks. I'm not gonna rate you.
Nice.
It's good. Don't get me wrong, but like you can like get recipes on it, like chicken teriyaki. You can like look at all these different recipes. They have like ground chicken tacos, like yang chow fried rice. You can just save the recipes, use them for later. You can also like add all of the ingredients to a shopping list, so that way you can have it. And yeah.
And so apps like that, or just Googling it, like all the recipes that we'll probably talk about later, I found them just from Googling stuff online. Yeah. I just literally looked up like chicken stir fry. I looked up jambalaya. I just looked up different recipes and just tried it out. So
worst case scenario, you don't like what you made, but someone else might.
Yeah. And even if you don't like what you made, I guarantee it's not going to be that bad.
And
It's going to be good.
I've burnt stuff before and it's still good.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with what you have. And funny enough, we were talking about publications for cooking, and I wanted to say another one that I thought of while Evan was discussing his, and crap, I gotta find it now. It was called Cooks Illustrated. If there is any magazine that you guys want to get, like I know people don't really subscribe to magazines anymore as much because like they have online stuff, but for an online magazine or if you get actual physical, Cooks Illustrated is a fantastic magazine because it gives a lot of amazing recipes, but it also talks a lot about the science behind cooking and just food preparation in general, and teaches you a lot about how these different ingredients work together and that. So if you want to have a better understanding of cooking as a whole and as a science, that's a great way to know. And I'm just going to look this up real quick. Cooks Illustrated. Nope, that's baking cookbook. We don't need their baking cookbook. But Cooks Illustrated is a fantastic one. They are just very, and say it right away. No, thanks, not interested. Yeah. But yeah, they just give, you can go to their website and get a bunch of recommendations for stuff. But if you get their their magazines or read any of their articles, they really focus on the science side of it. And they really teach you about understanding what everything does so you can understand and, apply that to a lot of different stuff. Because once you start to, another thing that Evan, you probably know, so when you start to get a feel about how different ingredients and types of ingredients work together, you can really start to, you don't need to as much follow recipes and you kind of create your own stuff. You start to improvise a little bit as you go.
Yeah. There is no wrong way to cook unless you put together like horrid things, like all those memes of like the people that made something for their significant other and it just looks horrid. Don't go making stuff like that.
But I mean, it is something that's hard to say just to not do it, but it's one of those things that just helps to try. Like, just start doing it. It's one of those things. I think that's one thing we're going to talk a lot about with any of these episodes is you shouldn't just wait around until you know everything. I think it's something you should definitely just start to try. It's like with riding, we talked about, it's like with rock climbing. It's something just to get out there and try. Look up a recipe or something. It's interesting. I found one great way. Try recipes that your parents made for you or that your parents are familiar with.
And like ask if they have a recipe written down and they can send it to you.
Yeah, that's what like my mom did it because like for one of the things for the jambalaya rice that she showed me that, and that's not her recipe, she just found it, but it was just a advice and additional stuff to add to it that she helped me figure out about. That has helped
also
me make
subscriptions to like, what are those like things where you like basically get a meal prep kit like every so often. I forget what they're called, like
Blue Apron.
There's that. There's like a bunch of other ones.
Freshly, I think is another one. HelloFresh.
Yeah, HelloFresh. There's one that my parents use that I forget what it's called. It's like
they've tried it? Yeah, they've tried it before. I've never tried it before.
So some of them are really good. Others of them are really bad. Like it just all depends. Some of the sauces that they have in there are really, really divine. But honestly, it all depends. Like sometimes we'll quote unquote doctor it up and like we'll add our own kind of things to them just to kind of like add more flavor to them or just kind of add a different flavor palette to them. Other times we'll kind of follow the recipe like verbatim, and it all depends. Sometimes they're hit, sometimes they're miss, and I feel like that's the same thing when you cook yourself. Yeah,
sometimes you'll get it right. I've done some stuff where it's like you end up adding too much of a certain ingredient or too little, and you're like, it's missing out a little bit. But I'll be honest, and every time I've messed up a recipe, I feel like it's never been that bad. Like I've still
it's just like it's missing something kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's like you may not get the best cooking, but you probably still saved money. You got experience, and it still is probably better than if you just went out and bought some stuff.
Although disclaimer, it is kind of hard to cook without a stove or like a grill, and like
I've seen those YouTube channels where they just like cook over
air
like
fryers.
Open flames in the woods.
Air fryers now.
Oh, I was talking about like open flames in the woods.
Open flames in the woods. air fryers now are a huge thing, and you can make like a huge variety of stuff with air fryers.
Yeah, if you want to get, that's actually a great solution. If you want to get started and haven't really done, try an air fryer, look up some simple recipes.
You can make some bomb wings with air fryers, because one of my roommates made air fried wings like last year when I was still in undergrad. Oh my God, dude. It made me want an air fryer, and I'm probably going to get one when I move.
Yeah, there was a great one I did with some of my coworkers when I was in my internship that we made this like tandoori chicken, this breaded tandoori chicken, and like Brussels sprouts. Like we did like crispy Brussels sprouts that were just so good. Like especially the chicken was just absolutely delicious with the air fryer. And so if that's a great thing now that's really come about recently, that if you are a great thing to start, especially if you're a college student, because you can get those for like $50. You can make some pretty nice stuff. I mean, you could look on like TikTok or Instagram anywhere. You'll see people posting like crazy simple recipes with like an air fryer and that.
Although beware, because some of those recipes on like Instagram and stuff, they'll use a lot of garnishing and like a lot of sauce, and you don't need that much.
No. Yep. Just consider one thing as well to consider when you're cooking anything. Just you'll start to get a feel for it, but pay attention to how much everything you're putting. Yeah, I know when you're making stuff on your own, you kind of get tempted to really like throw in a bunch of seasonings, or maybe do a lot of extra sauce or extra meat, or, you know, if you're doing baking, add a lot of extra sweets. One thing you need to make sure is that once you start cooking, especially when you're cooking on your own, you're paying attention to what you're needing in your diet. One thing starts to be important is thinking about what are in these recipes, and am I hitting my daily caloric protein or whatever? Am I eating healthy enough? Am I eating the different food groups and getting the different nutrients I need? So that's another thing, and one thing just to try to pay attention to. And I initially just start cooking stuff in general, just make stuff you think is tasty. I guarantee, and I promise you, to stuff that's good for you and healthy, you can find some delicious stuff. It's just about looking, making sure to pay attention and look into it, and, start to understand what are the healthiest options that are available for you.
I've been cooking for 1.5 years, and I still don't worry about that. I don't pay attention to my macros at all.
And you don't need to pay attention to retention macros. Just pay attention. I always say just pay attention to something that's crazy heavy in fat, or added sugar, or any of that stuff. Yeah.
Too much sugar is terrible. Also, too much salt is also horrid. Like if you accidentally open up the wrong side of the salt shaker, like the ones that have like, like the one where you can put the spoon in and then you like try to shake it a little bit and then you add like half the container.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And you'll make those mistakes sometimes, because I do.
Oh yeah.
It's very noticeable.
Yeah, and and that's the thing, is you'll make mistakes with it, but a lot of times when it comes to food, there are ways to deal with it. So like if you oversalt something, sometimes about adding something to kind of oppose it, or adding additional other spices in that to kind of help deal with it. It just kind of, you start to learn about but a lot of it, it's like with food, it's hard to make such a bad mistake that it's inedible. It's hard to make that kind of mistake. So while flavors may be slightly off in that, it's still good and it's still edible.
Yeah.
So Evan, and so talking about food and that, do you have any examples of recipes and different foods that you make, as just from the perspective of a college student?
Yeah.
And on a simple budget.
Favorite recipes right now is called creamy gnocchi noodles. I think it's gnocchi.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced
Italian
gnocchi.
sausage. So this is also a great point, that sometimes the things that you see on the internet, this is my rendition of it. I changed gnocchi with ziti noodles instead.
I'm not making fun of it like it looks bad. I just think it was such a change from that picture to this. It's like beautiful presentation. You have the garnish at the top of the herbs. All that.
I didn't get the herbs for mine, although I got them this time.
It's just such a change.
You can tell one of them is for the website, and then the other one's made by a college student.
But you can also tell in this one, they heavy do sauce. I'm guessing you went a lot lighter on the sauce.
Yeah, I did what they said. They said like a 1/3 cup of white wine, let it simmer, and then add a cup of like heavy cream, and like that's it. The tomatoes and like sausage and everything add to the flavor. It's a white sauce when I came out with it. I don't know how they got it this color, because I can't. It's probably different sauces, like different garnishings and stuff that they add to it.
Yeah.
I don't really care to. I think it's personally fine. Like,
Was it still was just taste is still very good?
oh, so amazing. I made it with a friend of mine, and he said that it was very good. He told me to save the pasta water so that way, like, I can use that in it for like some of the sauce base. I tried that and it was a little too watered down. The sauce was at that point. So you just experiment with it. You find ways to make it work. Sometimes you'll find like one brand of noodles tastes better than the other for some reason, no matter, even if you cook it the same way. Because like I used a different noodle brand than I did the first time, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, like it just didn't taste the same. Not to say it was bad, but it like there was a noticeable difference. This is like one of my favorite things, and it says one pan up here. I use two.
Don't believe everyone the one pan stuff. Do not believe that.
You can use one pan if you use gnocchi noodles here.
Yeah.
Because gnocchi you can just boil in with that stuff. However, if you use a different noodle like I did, I only use 2 pans for it. I use one to cook the sausage, which then I throw in onion, and then after that I throw in the white wine, and then I throw in tomato, garlic, and let it simmer for a little bit until like all the fragrance is there. And then I add the heavy cream and stir it, and then I mix it with the noodles, so it's only 2 pans, which is really nice. Mainly, I do a lot of like 1 or 2 pan stuff.
Yeah, same.
It's just really convenient.
Typically, it's like I'll have in one is the pasta and what I'll mix everything together, and then have a separate thing for like meat. Because a lot of times I like to get raw meat and cook it up, especially chicken. I usually eat a lot of chicken, so I'll use a lot of raw meat.
Another thing that I absolutely love to cook is this. It's called cheesy taco pasta. It's basically mac and cheese with taco meat, which I use ground turkey for it, and then just like
ground turkey is hella good. I love me some ground turkey.
What is the name of that taco brand? Ortega.
Oh yeah.
Ortega seasoning. It's divine. And then you just add some cheese on top of it. I don't add any of these embellishments to it. Yeah. All I do is just add cheese, this meat, and then I'll add hot sauce to it. Like I'll do a Louisiana hot, and it's really good.
Do you have a picture of this?
Super simple. I don't, sadly. But imagine this, except for instead of using this, I use orchetti noodles or whatever they're called. They're basically, you know, like those caps that you would like flip up inside out, and then they like pop and shoot up.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
They look like that. But you can also use these shells. I've used shells as well. I just prefer the orchetti or orchetti. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm not Italian. But it looks like it would be orchetti.
I imagine it'd be pretty good. And I've cooked with Evan before. Him and I have made some stuff together. We made some pretty good stuff. We during a road trip we had where we were staying at an Airbnb, him and I made a chicken and shrimp stir fry together. Yeah. That was pretty dang good. I was pretty happy with that.
It was pretty dang good.
And it was one of those things of like, you see how Evan talks, he's like takes the recipe and gets the general idea of it, but then changes up certain stuff. Like, with this recipe, you could use any kind of noodle and you could change up the meat a bit as well. And that's what he did. That was kind of what
your taco seasoning as well. If you don't like Ortega, you don't got to. Ortega is my personal favorite.
Yeah. Or you could use like your own, which I'll show in one of my recipes about making my own kind of seasoning for fajitas. But for the stir fry, we had our own recipes. Each of us had a certain way we made it, and so we just kind of combined that together into one whole thing, which ended up being very tasty. We were very happy with how it turned out. Did you have any others you wanted to show out?
This is one of mine. It's a
wait, Evan, were you at a steak restaurant? Were you at a steak restaurant for this?
Oh no, this is my kitchen.
Is that the Texas
set up
Roadhouse?
The smoke detector. So this is a flank steak, and then it also has potatoes and mushrooms mixed together. And then I did broccoli. I oven roast my broccoli, so that way I didn't roast it long enough because usually I let it get blackened a little bit. Jeez. But you just kind of put them on a baking sheet, put olive oil on them and salt, and then just stick them in the oven at like 400 degrees for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then they should be perfect. Now the steak, I'm still trying to figure out how to make steak not on a grill.
Yeah, that's a change.
Very smoky, so like cooking it on stovetop. our microwave vent, the vents that they have on there, wasn't strong enough to get like all the smoke.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of bad. Like it just set off the smoke detector because it was just a whole lot of smoke coming out. And then I also used butter in the pan.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like, I added the steak first and seared it, and then I added butter, so I thought I would have been fine, but it was still a lot because I used an iron skillet pan, which gets very hot.
Yeah, those can get real hot.
So it just got too hot, and then just caused the butter to start smoking.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite times when I set off a smoke alarm was I wish I remember. It was either in like 10 o'clock at night or it was like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. And because I think I was making some shit and it just did not go well. And I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, my roommate's gonna be so mad at me.
Oh my gosh. And it happens. Like, don't get embarrassed if you set off the smoke detector or like you smoke up a place. Like my roommates back in undergrad, they would cook chicken most nights, and for some reason our like microwave vent thing didn't work.
Yeah,
so we had to open up windows, and then our entire first room would be like hazy because of the amount of smoke coming from like cooking chicken on stovetop. I just wish I could have a grill, man. Grilling is my favorite, but you can do a lot of good stuff in the oven. Like I made bratwurst in the oven and they were really good.
I've actually never grilled. I've never really done much grilling. I really have not.
It's really simple. The key to grilling is you only flip things once if you can help it. So like you do 10 minutes on one side, and then you usually do like 5 to 8 on the other side, and then it's good. You'll like cut it open to see if it's done. If it's not, you just let it stay on that side, because the more you flip it, like the juices collect on top. So you're losing those juices when you flip it. So the less you flip it, the better it's going to be. And also the only thing, you remember when I was grilling for our 4th of July party?
Yeah. You did a great job with that. That was really good.
The only like ingredients you need are your meat, salt, and pepper. That's it. Like you just salt and pepper them, flip them on there, salt them, pepper them on the other side. That's it. That's literally all you need. You can use like some like different things in it. Like you can mix in like paprika in there, like some other stuff.
There's a lot of barbecue rubs that people do, or some kind of sauces or that people do a lot. Yeah, you can find a million things like that.
Dry rubs are my favorite when I'm grilling, because then I don't have to worry about them getting down into the grill.
It's a lot easier to clean.
Yeah. And then sometimes you don't even want to clean the grill. You want to leave it like with that charred mess on there, because then it'll add a little bit of flavor next time you cook. Grilling is my favorite way to cook, in all honesty, because then like you don't have to worry about setting off a smoke detector because it's outside.
Yeah, it does help a lot. And it also ends up being like a more social thing. So
yeah.
And
it's like you grill out burgers on the 4th of July with your friends. Like, what more could you ask for?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's another thing. It's talking a bit from not just about recipes, but about cooking in general. I found it to be such a fun social thing. Like for people who are not sure about, like, they don't really want to cook because of like, for whatever reasons. But one of the things is like, it's become a very fun social thing. Like either doing it with dates or my friends, my family, or my roommates. It's just kind of fun to just work on a recipe together. We got chopping stuff up, cooking stuff up some people are washing stuff, some people are cutting. It ends up being just like a fun atmosphere of like working together towards a thing that you're both be able to enjoy at the end.
Yeah.
My roommates during my internship, and we don't always have this with every roommate, but my roommates there, we love to cook together. And so it ended up being like every week we would make something together, and it was a lot of fun because we would just make some delicious foods, and then we would try something they like. I would bring in one of my recipes. We'd always go back and forth on it. And it's another great way to learn about other recipes, because some people have a lot more like different favorite recipes or ones that they grew up with, and you start to kind of learn a little bit and see from that. And you can learn a lot from other people because some people may be more experienced in a certain area than you are. My brother knows way more about baking than I do, so whenever we do anything with sweets, I'm always like paying attention to him because he knows what he's doing compared with me.
Yeah, it's always nice to cook with other people, because then you'll get a different perspective on like the thing you're cooking, especially if they've made it before, because then you'll kind of get like that, like, oh, I don't do that, I do this. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, let's see how that tastes. And then you can kind of find a way that like, oh man, I like that better than like what I was doing.
And that's one thing. When you first start, just follow a recipe, just follow it. You can follow it exactly if you like, just follow it step by step. But when you start to get a feel for cooking, you'll start to get an idea of, especially with spices and that, you start to not really need to go exact with it. And you start to get a feel of like, if you want to make something, because once you make a couple pastas, you understand, oh, if pasta, I just got to boil some pasta, have some kind of different sauce with it, throw in some meat with that, a few veggies. And then with that, you can make any kind of pasta dish you want. Same with rice. You could do anything with it. While there are certain dishes, of course, you can kind of just create your own thing. So when you're starting, you have a lot of resources with recipes to show you what to do. But then once you get into it, there's no real limit to what you can do. You can really make anything, because it's always varies like what you have on hand at times or what your friends have or whatever. So there's people, food's been around for quite a while. So people have found a lot of different ways to eat it.
Yeah, there are many different ways too. And it's honestly, I don't know how to describe it other than just like really fun. Like I've made food for like first dates a lot of the time, and like it's really fun to do. Like even if the meal turns out bad, it was fun to do with the other person and like have meal prep. And I did one with a nutrition major one time, and she was like, are you sure you should be like adding this? And I'm like, I don't know.
Fuck if I know. It tastes good.
It's kind of like a fun experience to just do. Not saying that every first date's going to be great if you guys cook together. You'll learn if you can cook together, but like, hey, it creates a good like open space.
Yeah, and funny you say it. I'm going to share my pictures right here, because I'm going to share something I made on a first date, like a second date. But this was an example of a stir fry that I did. So on the right, I have a pot of of chicken stir fry. So this is my recipe. So this is like a chicken stir fry with like a soy and sesame oil sauce and a couple other ingredients. And then I have, as you can see, peppers, onions, broccoli, bamboo shoots, water chestnuts, and I think that's all I can think of right now. And with chicken as the main thing. Well, she made, so we did this at the same time. She made with a wok I had a like shrimp fried rice, as you can see, peas and carrots with corn, and also used some of the peppers we had with some cut up shrimp pieces, her own sauce as well. And so it was a fun thing where we kind of worked together, but also we did our own things that we then combined it at the end to eat together, and it was delicious. It was very good, and it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one of my this was a really good one. And that stir fry, by the way, I've used that a million times, which I can actually pull up now. If we go to, let me stop my share, and I'm going to share my Google page. Crap, gotta hide that. Where's the stir fry? No, it's not that. Where is it? Do I have it up here? I can't even. Is there a stir fry thing? No. Okay. I maybe don't have it anymore. Crap. Zoom is a little annoying with where it keeps stuff. No, it's our Rastapasta stuff. Okay. Well, I guess I don't have it anymore. But no, I'll stop my share. But that was a recipe I just found online to first try as chicken stir fry. Like just look those up. But then afterwards, I just started adding whatever. Like once I got a general feel of the sauce, I knew I could figure out how to season the meat and do the veggies and everything. And, for rice, I just kind of started to do whatever. I would usually, that was another thing I would use, like rice-a-roni or that kind of stuff, like those rice mixes that I would just then mix with the stir fry. So it just kind of whatever with that. It was something that initially I was just kind of expanding upon it. And funny enough, with the meat, there was an interesting thing my friend taught me, which was like, he showed me how, with one thing to help with the flavor is that like with the sauce, initially they had me use like chicken broth for flavor, but he brought up that it doesn't really help much with flavor. So, because he's very knowledgeable about cooking as well. So he told me to use cooking wine and vinegar, which was an interesting thing. I didn't really think to use that. And also he said with the meat is to then soak it with soy sauce, well, actually soak it in the sauce. I think it was just soy sauce, and soy sauce, vinegar, and cornstarch. And it actually ended up making this flavor so much better and ended up making the sauce so much tastier. And it was something I never even thought of before. But he brought up about how it helps like keep it, moist. It keeps the moisture in the chicken, helps getting flavor in there. He brought up a few things that I hadn't really considered before. But that was just something of like discussing and working with people. And that's another thing too. You can share this stuff with anybody and learn so much from other people's experiences with it. Not just cooking with them, of just talking about it in general.
Mm-hmm. Like the main reason that I figured out how to use like butter with my steak is when I was talking with my friends about it, and they're like, "Oh, dude, you're making flank steak for dinner? Dude, I got this bomb recipe." And then they just talk to me about it. And then I'm really excited to move in with my like roommate of next year, because him and I kind of cook like similar meals, but also like vastly different meals. But also like cooking for your roommates. If you have any roommates, do it. Like back my first semester's senior year of undergrad, we would do dinner nights, like family dinner nights, and it was just all four of us in the apartment together before like all three of them left to go student teach. We would all make like a dish like once a week, and then we'd just kind of like eat dinner together around the table. And like it was a way to, number one, save money, because like we would cook for each other, and like number two, just like we'd help each other in the kitchen. We'd learn how to cook like their dishes, and like it was good fun. It was like really good fun. We'd set the table like it was like back when you were a kid and then your parents were cooking, and then you'd go set the table and you're just so excited to eat.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's a thing that like I realized I enjoyed doing with friends as much as I did family, because I started cooking for my family more. But then also it was just fun to do stuff with friends. It's like when we did the grill, like for 4th of July, it was fun. It becomes like kind of an independent thing, because you're like, oh, I don't need to rely on ordering food. I don't need to rely on my family or somebody cooking food. You can just make it as friends and have a dinner together, or have a cookout together. It started to be a thing where it's like, oh, it's kind of fun to do this. Oops, sorry, I'm adjusting my headphones. It's kind of fun to do this on your own, which is something I hadn't really considered until I really got into it.
Yeah. And like, you don't necessarily have to be into cooking, because I mean, you're going to have to cook at some point in your life, or you'll find someone who will cook for you. That would be great. But like I don't know, like you can either do cooking or baking. Like there's a whole lot to it. And like cooking and baking are different. I've never baked once in my life.
No, me either.
I don't know if I can. Everyone during the pandemic was getting into baking bread. Like a lot of my friends were like, yeah, no, I was making like this sourdough. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. All
right, man. Yeah, I would definitely say for baking, if we have an episode on that, I'd definitely bring in like my brother, somebody who's knowledgeable about that, because we know nothing about baking.
Not at all. I could bring in someone who I know who owns a bakery.
You know someone who owns a bakery?
Yeah. She was like a leader in one of the Christian ministries I was in, and yeah, she like owns a bakery. She wanted to do teaching, and then she was like, actually, I'm gonna do bakery stuff, and now owns it. Vine's Bakery in Ashland. You know it?
What is it called?
Vine's Bakery. It's like right across from Jack and Deb Miller Chapel.
No, I'm not familiar with that, but I'll have to try it out next time I'm home. I'll have to look for it. I was looking for like a good bakery around Ashland. I feel like we don't have any good bakeries that are not like chain bakeries.
Vine's Bakery is very good, because Juliana is the name of the girl who like owns it. She makes all her own stuff, and it's very good. I've also heard, if anyone bakes that watches this, I've heard cinnamon rolls are a bitch to make, because I would always ask her to make cinnamon rolls, and she's like, I don't want to put in the effort. And like, I have no idea what the effort is that it takes, because I just make easy cooking dishes. So I'm like, everything's got to be easy. Come on, just make it.
Yeah, seriously. And I just compare it to what my family would do, where we just get those prepackaged like cinnamon roll things.
Like the Pillsbury Doughboy ones.
Yeah,
dude, I got those like the other week, and then I made them for like all my roommates, and I was like, please eat these. I don't want to eat them all myself.
Yeah, because you can, and it fucks you up afterwards though.
Dude, and I just got like the Grands, like those rolls, like the Pillsbury Grand rolls.
Did you get the flaky ones? The flaky ones are the best.
Those with honey on them are divine.
Oh.
That's
Those
all
flaky.
I know about baking. Also,
those flaky are so good.
Also, a new favorite thing of mine to make. It's super simple. I make my own calzones now.
Oh, really?
All you need, pizza dough. You can buy it yourself. You don't need to make it. If you want to make it yourself, go for it. Go crazy. More power to you. Cheese, like pizza cheese blend. I don't know what it is. I just buy the pizza cheese blend. Pepperoni, salami, and then if you want anything else on your pizza, etc., etc. If you want to throw in some like pre-cooked Italian sausage or like brown your own sausage and throw it in there, go for it. But all you do is just lay out your pizza roll on parchment paper, your pizza dough on it, put the cheese on there, like on both sides of it, because usually I'll just fold it in half, but on both sides, and then lay out your ingredients that you have. Put it in the oven for like at 400 degrees for like 15 to 20 minutes. Check until it's like done. If it's browned, it's not too late, but like it is kind of starting to burn the bread. But yeah, I've had it when the bread is browned and it's still just fine. But yeah, it's really tasty. Super simple, super simplistic. You just barely any meal prep. Everything's prepackaged. You just have to wait for the oven to turn on, and then you have to wait for the oven to finish cooking it, and then it's done. And like you use parchment paper, so generally you just have to wash off the sheet because a little bit of grease gets through from like all the like fats from, you know, cheese and like pepperoni and stuff that like bleed through the parchment paper. But I mean, super simple cleanup. All you need is an oven and a pan.
Yeah, pretty simplistic. And yeah, just with that, I wanted to say, yeah, there's nothing like a lot of times people will talk about with cooking of like being able to like make your own, like working with raw veggies and meats and cooking it all up and preparing all that. Like I said, like we were talking before, it's as simple or as complicated as you want to be. I'll be honest, you can have just as good quality of chicken that you get from a freezer as opposed to fresh chicken. Honestly, I think fresh just tastes better. Honestly, I think it does. But really, you could get a pretty good quality meal out of just a thing of Tyson's frozen chicken, and that's nice and easily available. So don't be afraid to like do that because you think it's not actually cooking. Mm-hmm. It's just the same. It's just a different way of having the food. So, and I know some people purists will say it's a sin, but I don't know. Food is food on that kind of stuff, and I don't really see a whole lot of difference when it comes to that. It's just that somebody cooked it and then froze it.
Mm-hmm. And I truly don't like seek out the most freshest ingredients unless it's like produce. Then I'll kind of try with produce. Yeah. Because like I don't really want to get something that's starting to like a parsley or something that's starting to brown a little bit, or the leaves are starting to wilt, because then I know it's going to go bad soon. Yeah,
I would definitely recommend, finding a nice grocery store that, has some stuff. Kroger's always been a go-to. But honestly, go to farmers markets and that. You can get some nice stuff at a farmer's market. I
really want to find a farmer's market nearby.
And honestly, usually they're not crazy expensive, and you get some very fresh, good stuff. Like farm fresh eggs are so different than just like store-bought eggs. And usually from like, if you have a nice, like a good farm of that, or even with just produce in general, it's not going to be that much more expensive. Yeah. So that's a good thing to recommend. Just when you're cooking as well, try to look for other resources stuff. Don't just look at grocery stores, like a big grocery store for everything. Start to look at like some smaller stores or farmers markets, or those kind of stands about finding that kind of stuff. Because you can, as you do cooking, you kind of expand up to want to try different flavors and ingredients and that, and you can find a lot of different stuff. Because really, cooking in general is just an experiment to see what tastes the best for you. So you can always just try to find something new. All right. So in the end here, Evan, did we want to talk about some recipes, or do you think we should just share them in the...
I think we should just share them in the link below, because it is kind of getting close to the end of the episode. So I think we should just share them in the link below. We've kind of showed some photos of like what we've made, what we've wanted to make, and it's not the same. And like, I don't have a link to the recipe of the flank steak and everything. Literally just cook all the ingredients.
just cook it. Just make it not raw.
Yeah, but I think we should just link recipes.
Yeah, I'm just
down in
scrolling
the
through
description.
as you talk. I'm just scrolling through pictures of different recipes things I've cooked. So
Yeah.
just to show off a little bit, just to show like this is stuff for me. I've really been cooking for about a year or two. You can
So right
make
now
some-
your screen is not really scrolling through anything. It's just
Really?
viewing your folder.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
It
right
did
here.
that earlier too. Not to embarrass you.
Oh no! All right, can you see this?
Yes. Now
Is it
we're
scrolling?
good. Yes.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I was just scrolling through some of these. Well, that embarrassed me. So, I guess as we go through this,
Cool.
I'm not going to go through this recipe super in depth, but I'm just going to go through a few things that I have just because I have a few pictures of stuff.
Yeah.
So this was a vodka penne sauce, which
Ooh,
was
vodka-
absolutely delicious.
Vodka sauces are amazing.
Yeah, and also not that complicated to make.
Nope.
So, and that's some cooked up like greens just in like a wok with some bread, which was delicious. This is my go-to breakfast at home, which is just some eggs with whatever seasoning you want. I usually just use salt, pepper, garlic, and paprika. Seasoned potatoes. You can boil them or microwave them to get them soft. Cook them in a pan with minced onions until they become caramelized onions. And then just whatever sausage you want. That's vegetarian sausage, but you can use whatever. This is my favorite go-to breakfast.
Dude,
I love
speaking
making
of
this.
breakfast, have you seen the people that are now making like, I don't even know how to describe it other than they like start cooking eggs in a pan and then they put like bread in there to make it like an egg sandwich. I really want to try to make one of those sometime soon. Oh, are those like
I do too, yeah.
what's this one that you're showing? Bacon
So-
sausage wrapped in bacon?
So it's a great thing. It's a date.
Oh, it's
the
a
fruit, the
date.
date.
Yeah.
It's a date filled with pecans and goat's cheese, wrapped in bacon, and then covered in brown sugar to caramelize it.
Yeah.
This
That's
is very good. This is very good. I'll throw all these in the thing. This is actually a paella I made, which is a Spanish dish I made with my roommates, which was very good. Was pretty impressed. It turned out as good as it did. And yeah, that's all the pictures. I just kind of scrolling through some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
all
I
this.
really want to try to make one of those breakfast sandwiches. If you don't know what I'm talking about,
Man.
you should know what I'm talking about. It's really good. They basically just make their own like egg coated sandwich. And like they fold the egg in and like put like sausage or bacon in between.
Imagine the
cheese.
process. Yeah,
Oh.
imagine the process of making an omelet, but you just put a piece of bread in it so it can hold on to that, and then you just fold it over to make a sandwich.
Hmm. It looks really good, and I've been meaning to make it, but I never get up early enough.
It's breakfast is hard because you have to get up early enough. It's always such a pain.
And like now that I'm working in lab, I have to get up like so much earlier, and like I just get a bowl of cereal and almond milk, which I've now learned that almond milk uses a whole lot of water to make.
It does. It really does. Almonds in
I-
general take a lot of water.
Uh-huh. I know that they take a lot of water to grow, but I didn't know it took a lot of water to make milk out of it. I mean, I kind of should have thought of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like
They
looking
ain't got-
for
they ain't got no
alternatives.
They ain't got no almond titties.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're getting about to the end here. So, yeah, we're probably going to do another one on cooking because we've talked there's a lot you can talk about with cooking because I can think about for me, there's so much I learned about what to buy at a grocery store from beginning to now, which we can definitely talk about at a later time. So this is definitely a topic we'll visit again, but hopefully we're going to post a lot of these recipes we have in the description of this video, give you guys a lot of opportunity just to try different things, and feel free to share other ones you've tried in the comments as well. We'll also may try to post some stuff on our Instagram as well. Maybe another thing to try is just throwing out some recipes in that as well. Consider we post about everything on there, and I may throw that on there as well.
Yeah.
I guess.
Don't forget, find us on YouTube at lolneref.
And then Instagram
not
and
yet your streaming platform of choice.
Yeah, we're trying to get that all set up. It's hard to do that consistently.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot longer. Like this, we record for about an hour, but that, we can go for a while on the streaming. So
yeah.
And I'm still in school, and so is Evan. So
yep.
whenever we can. All right. So that looks like we're at the end here today. So hopefully we get to see you guys next time on the podcast. We don't know what we are going to do next time. We kind of decide as we go. So should be interesting. So hope you guys have a good one, and we will see you next time.
See ya.
I got cookies right here.
Yeah.